Hi, my name is Emily Meade, and I am a graduate student at Morningside University. I am a second grade teacher with the Clear Creek Amana School District, and my research title is The Impact of Repeated Reading Literacy Intervention on Second Grade Students' Oral Reading Fluency. The problem statement focuses on the impact that fluency has on reading in development and levels. The National Assessment of Educational Progress found that 40% of fourth graders in the United States were found to be below basic reading levels. From second to fifth grade, other research studies found that reading difficulties were from the impact of reading fluency and comprehension as a whole. Being able to read and comprehend are two skills that we utilize daily. And Timothy Rosinski, from a research article in 2014, found that the forefront of literacy instruction needs to be both fluency and comprehension. When students are able to develop the three components of fluency, rate, accuracy, and prosody, they are able to comprehend, meaning growth and understanding can occur not only with reading, but other subjects in confidence in schooling as well. Why research this? The impact of fluency on second grade students for not only their comprehension and fluency development, but also their confidence development, as the studies have shown that when comprehension and fluency are low and reading levels are low, their confidence in school is not high at all. For progress monitoring is weekly at the researchers district for progress monitoring, so students are reading different passages weekly to see their correct words read per minute. The literature review, there are many different reading interventions. However, this research focused on 3 different past research programs that teachers can implement that also focuses on fluency. One of them being Great Leaps reading program. A benefit is that there is a lot of exposure to different texts. There are different ways students can show their understanding through reading sight words, then phrases, and then going on to reading passages. However, this is only a 10-minute reading program implemented daily, which does not leave enough time for teacher meaningful feedback. If we're looking at the poetry intervention plan, poetry is a great exposure to a text that helps with fluency skills. However, when thinking of the poetry intervention plan, it focuses more on the vocabulary development rather than the phonics piece, as well as the fluency and accuracy piece of that. And finally, the video self-monitoring is a great resource in reading implementation for students to reflect on their reading and be able to see how they have been reading fluently, if they're using expression, how their rate is, and accuracy. However, one downfall is that when doing the research, there did not show to be a huge significant impact when doing this intervention. Also thinking with the literature review is focusing on the constructivist theory, which was by Jean Piaget, which stated that when students are actively engaged in their own learning, they are able to create meaning from these experiences. When we are able to make meaningful experiences from our learning, we are able to apply that in other areas in our life. So when thinking of this in the second grade classroom for the research study, students can apply this in other areas as well as not just in their reading. Repeated reading strategy is an intervention that was found by theorists LeBerg and Samuels in 1974. Repeated readings are successfully done when a reader achieves an adequate level of reading. A repeated reading is an intervention that focuses on one passage multiple times. So students may be doing an echo reading, partner reading, choral reading, while first being modeled by a teacher or an adult or peer. We want to make sure that the modeling is first done before the students take over, so that they are able to understand what their reading should be like. And thinking of the time, there is multiple opportunities to implement the reading, so there's a lot of time given for corrective feedback prior to rereading the text again. And daily implementation is very important when it comes to repeated reading. Suggestions on implementing it daily for several weeks so that the passage can be implemented multiple times. The purpose statement of this study is to determine the impact that repeated reading has on students' oral reading fluency achievement. The tool used is the FastBridge platform, with focusing on the CBM, the curriculum-based measurement of oral reading. The hypothesis of the study is that after modeling daily instruction and repeated practice has been done for 2 weeks, that the students will show improvement in their reading fluency compared to before receiving the intervention. The independent variable is the repeated reading strategy, and the dependent variable is the oral reading fluency achievement at the end of the study from the participants. This is a quantitative single subject A/B research design, and the impact of this research study is to help teachers make instructional decisions on the intervention results, so seeing if this should be done at schools to help with fluency achievement, as well as being a second grade teacher. The results will impact how the researcher and the coworkers use literacy interventions in the classroom to help their students become fluent readers. The methods, there were 15 second grade students for participants. This is a diverse group of 66.6% male, 33.3% female, 53.3% Caucasian, 20% biracial, 13.3% Hispanic, 6.6% both Bosnian and Arabic. 20% had a learning IEP. The materials that were used were the computer MacBook Air to record the data, the online platform FastBridge, student goal tracking graphs that were provided at the start of the study, as well as the passages. As you can see on the right side, this is an example of bridge. Procedure. First, the collected baseline data is done. Students read a fluency passage, and correct words per minute as well as accuracy percentage are recorded. Students are then given an individual graph to make their goals for what they think they will get for the mid-test as well as their goal for the post-test. A 2-week control group is done with a traditional literacy strategy, the guided reading. So students are reading a chapter book together, they are discussing, they are reading together and answering comprehension questions 4 days a week for 30 minutes. The mid-test is then taken and students reflect on their mid-test goal. The next 2 weeks is 4 days a week for 30 minutes a day. The repeated reading intervention is implemented. Reading intervention is implemented. Students are focusing on one passage that entire week and reading in a variety of ways. This could be echo reading, this could be partner reading, and choral reading, where students are able to development. Finally, the post-test is given and students reflect on their graphs, goals, and results. The results found that from the t-test results, the first phase, the pre-test to the mid-test, you can see that it is statistically significant, focusing on a p-value less than 0.05. The pre-test mean was 90.9 and the mid-test was 101.1. So that is a statistically significant p-value less than 0.05 for the first phase. The second phase mid-test to post-test is not significantly significant based on the p-value of 0.172. You can see there is an increase for the mean score, but it is not significant when looking at the p-values. So the hypothesis can be refuted. And some implications for students are the oral reading fluency development. So this is very important when thinking of students and therefore having an impact on their comprehension to be successful, not only in second grade, but as they continue on in their schooling. Actively being engaged in their learning. So this comes back to the constructivist theory by Jean Piaget and making it meaningful to them. Teachers have the opportunity to act as facilitators to give feedback and step back as the students take control of their learning. They are able to implement this with limited resources and materials, and they are able to record their data, the students' data, on a spreadsheet to see the growth between each assessment. and see how the intervention is working. Parent implications are modeling fluent reading for their children. This can easily be practiced at home, and they are able to see their child's growth and their development. And administrator implications, training the teachers to administer the CBM assessment so that progress monitoring can be done weekly to see their fluency development. The limitations focus on the sample size. Students, there were only 15 in this study, so when thinking of a bigger population, additional research data could have been done and given to see the impact of the study. The duration of the study, only 2 weeks were given as it was the end of the year, so thinking of how a longer study could have given them more time to make more of an impact. Classroom interruptions, whether this be behavior or students coming in and out for different programs. Other interventions, having to ask questions or needing redirection while working with one particular small group. Making sure that a teacher is trained. So this goes back to making sure they're trained on being able to administer CBM passages and do the weekly progress monitoring. Natural student growth, so with it being the end of the year, as well as students just naturally growing over time, if this had an impact on the study, as well as administering the passages. So with many interruptions, finding the time where students are focused and not distracted and able to do their best also was another limitation of the study. Finally, thinking of future recommendations, continuing research with a larger sample size to see when we have a bigger population, maybe even more diverse or different grades, being able to see the impact of the repeated reading strategy, administering the assessment passages in a quiet, less distracted location with focusing on it in a small group while other students were also working, may have distracted students in being able to do their work and being able to fully try their best on the passage assessments. Thinking about the increasing the duration of the study, as research has shown, doing it for multiple and several weeks to continue the same passage can really impact the results of this intervention. And the time of year, not only for elementary students, but all students, it being the end of the year may have impacted it. So making sure for future research, doing it or before the final weeks of school so that you can really get an idea of how the students are growing without further distractions. Here are the references used in the research study, and I truly hope that if you have tried repeated reading, it has had an impact for you, and that this is, or if this is an intervention that you could use in your classroom to make a difference. Thank you for listening.